Hello everyone, it's Mal, and today is the last episode of 2024, which is kind of crazy that this year is coming to an end. Welcome to episode 33! So in today's episode, I do this like the past 2 years that I've been doing in December or some kind of reflecting episode of the previous year. I like to do these because it's fun to listen back on and it's fun to, kind of reflect and I guess really comprehend this past year. Today we're going to be talking about different things that happened with my podcast in 2024. We're also going to get into kind of reflecting upon it. We're going to be talking about some struggles, goals, lessons, different things that I hope 2025 will bring. And yeah, so I feel without further ado, let's get started. So the first topic that we're going to be discussing in this episode is kind of what happened with my podcast this past year. So I'm calling this like the Doll Mom Podcast Rewind because we're rewinding for the months. Anyways, I thought it was a kind of a cute catchphrase. But before we officially begin, I want to kind of talk about something, and I want to share a quote that I found on Instagram a few weeks ago, and I shared it recently on my Instagram story, and I wanted to read it off in this episode, because I think it's kind of impactful, and I relate to this in a way, and maybe you can relate to it in a way too. So here it is. Soon, there will be a lot of posts from people sharing their achievements from 2024. But just in case someone needs to hear this, it's okay if the only thing you did this year was simply getting through it. There were definitely days this year, and there was months this year where I'm just like, I just got to get through it. Nothing's going right. Nothing is working out in the way that I want it to work out. But, we just got to get through it because something better can be coming from around the corner. You never know what life brings you, and I'm a strong belief of everything happens for a reason. Anyways, so I thought I would share that before we officially begin and before I officially talk about different things that happened with my podcast. If you're someone who's listening to this and you're someone who's like, the only thing I just did this year was survive. That is great. I am giving you a big round of applause right now because just surviving is something, that's so great to do. And that's something that you shouldn't feel bad about yourself, that you didn't do everything that all these other people did this past year. You're doing what's best for you and you're doing stuff in your own interest. You know what I mean? So you never know what someone's going through. And just surviving is thriving, honestly, it's good. So now we're going to officially get into different things that happened with my podcast. So starting in the month of January, I did a January episode 23, where we talked about 2023, year in review, stuff that was kind of all over the place. I apologize that episode was all over the place. This year we have a plan and we're sticking to it. So yeah. Something really exciting happened. Doll Mom Podcast ranked number 3 in top 15 doll podcasts to follow in 2024 by FeedSpot. Thank you, FeedSpot. We also ranked in the best doll podcast by Player FM. Thank you so much to Player FM and to FeedSpot for putting me on those lists. I never thought, I'm going to cry. I'm kind of emotional today. And so I feel like this isn't the best time to be doing a reflective episode because I'm very emotional. But you know what? It's okay. I'm kind of getting tears in my eyes already. But it just means so much to me that I am considered to be on a list like that, because I say this again. I feel like a broken record every time I say this, but it's honestly true. I started my podcast because I thought it would be fun and I thought it would be neat. I didn't start it to be ranked on these lists, which I didn't even know these stuff existed until I ended up on these lists. And even then, it's just so crazy to me that people think it's good, I guess. I don't know, or think it deserves to be on a list like that. And it just means so much to me for everybody who listens to my podcast too. Because like I said, I started it because I thought it would be fun. Whether it's just me and posting it and there's nothing coming from it, like nobody listens to it, that's fine. I like to do it, Anyways, thank you so much. And then some honorable mentions that happened, which this happened on Christmas, actually. I remember sitting on the couch at my aunt's house Christmas last year, going through my emails and getting an email saying that Doll Mom was number 203 on Apple's podcast in category of kids and family in France, which is crazy. That happened too. It's just so mind-blowing for me, and I always get so speechless, and I don't know what else to say, because it's crazy to me, and I don't know, just in saying this. I also put the Doll Mom podcast on YouTube podcast, which we'll discuss that too. A lot of things came from YouTube this past year. We'll get into that. Anyways, thank you so much if you listen to my podcast on YouTube. I really appreciate it. In February, we posted episode 24 with two of my really closest friends, Brianna and Christina. We talked about their doll story. We also got into other things such as My Little Pony, which I love My Little Pony. I still need to drag out my Little Pony collection someday and do a video over it, because I feel like that would be fun, but at the same time, I don't know if people would actually enjoy that because it's not necessarily dolls. I don't know. We also got into the American Girl Rewind, which, looking back at everything that they released in 2023, I always like to do those because I think it's super duper interesting, and it's fun to look back and being like, oh my god, yeah, I love this release, or oh my goodness, yeah, this is like my favorite thing that came out, And then, you get to also look back on memories that happened, like, oh my goodness, yeah, during this month we went there, and like it was fun because we went there for this release, and it was, I don't know, I really enjoy that. Then we had episode 25 in March, where we talked about doll news and doll parent advice. I always wanted to do like a doll parent episode, like advice episode, I guess, because, being a doll mom, it's hard sometimes. It's hard to manage your time. It's hard to decide what outfits to put on different dolls. It's hard to figure out. I would say the biggest struggle that I have is kind of within myself, that I'm doing okay. Like, I don't want to ever neglect my dolls or make it feel like I'm neglecting my dolls with different things that I have going on. And so that's something that I feel like I really struggle with, and like putting my time like where I should put my time, you know what I mean? This also ended up being the biggest episode on Spotify in 2024, which is kind of crazy to say. Thank you so much for loving that episode and for listening to it. The next episode we did was episode 26 with Simone in April. We did it over her doll story and working at AG. This was really fun. I love Simone. She's one of my favorite people. She's so sweet. I love her so much. And getting to hear her doll story, I always have a fascination on how people got into dolls and how people got into American Girl. It's something that I always love hearing about. And I also loved hearing about her time at American Girl, working there at the American Girl Columbus store. That was really fun. And yeah, I really loved that episode, and it's just so much fun. This was actually an episode, okay, I'm going to be brutally honest here. This was the first time, I actually canceled a recording on my end because I was sick, and I felt so bad. Oh my goodness, I literally felt so bad that we had to move that episode. But you know what, if we didn't move it, I don't think it would have been as perfect as it was. Everything happens for a reason. And next up we have May, episode 27. Oh my goodness. This one, I'm getting teary-eyed over it because crazy to me that it happened, okay? Freaking out that it happened. Oh my goodness. This was with the Queen's Treasures, Joanne Cardia, which I feel so bad I cannot pronounce her name right, her last name. This was an amazing episode. Oh my goodness. Looking back on that recording and everything, wow. Okay, so should I tell you how it happened? I think I should tell you how it happened. So I love the Queen's Treasures. I've been a lifelong fan of the Queen's Treasures, okay? I remember getting my first little product from them. It was from my grandma. And ever since then, I kind of been amazed. I have been amazed from their products. And their products are so high quality. Oh my goodness. If you have not gone and tried the Queen's Treasures, what are you doing? You need to go do so. Because let me tell you, your life will be changed once you get your first Queen's Treasure product. So I was working with them with Nellie and stuff, and I kind of just shoot my shot, I was just like, hey, I would really love to have someone from the Queen's Treasures come on my podcast. I think it'd be really fun, and yeah, I think it'd be really cool. And I think listeners would enjoy it, because when I did a episode with Durf from Ruby Red Fashion Friends, everybody really seemed to love that episode, and I really enjoyed it. Getting to hear the behind the scenes stuff is what I always love and enjoy. And you know what? I've loved the Queen's Treasures for a while, and honestly, before this, I had the dream of them coming on, and so I just sent it in an email, and I waited, and I was like, after I sent the email, I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? Because if they said no, they say no, but so anyways, they responded back, and they're like, oh my goodness, we would love that. And I was like, oh my goodness, me too. And so then we started emailing back and forth over different ideas and different things, and yeah, it was really cool, and I just can't believe it happened, In June, we posted episode 28, Doll Room Remodeling, Enjoying Your Dolls on a Budget and Summer Plans. Okay, I'm going to be honest, episode 28, I did not know what to do. I was like, what can I talk about that people would enjoy me talking about? And so I was like, okay, well, I'll talk about how I'm redoing my doll room, because I was at the time. I did a massive remodel of the doll room this past year, which was crazy. We took everything out of it, and we put everything back in a different spot. And then we took stuff out of the doll room that I haven't put back since. So it was massive remodeling. We did the Girl of the Year closet, and yeah, it was crazy. But you know what? I love how my doll room looks. It was a lot of work, because we did a deep clean of everything too. How you do a deep clean every once in a while, you actually clean stuff that you don't usually clean. I feel like we can all admit that, sometimes. And then the other two segments, I actually asked people who are on my broadcast channel on Instagram. It's called the Dollars and Rainbow Hub. You can join if you look it up on my Instagram. It's in my bio. You can join. It's a broadcast channel, but I don't call it a broadcast channel. What I refer to it as, a big group chat with everybody who loves dolls. That's what I refer to it as. And so I sent out a little thing, and I was like, what would you like me to talk? For future episode segments, what would you like me to discuss on my doll podcast? And everybody sent some really good ideas. And so Enjoying Your Dolls on a Budget came from that. And I think Summer Plans too came from that. I'm not too sure. But really great little segments. And it also kind of opened my eyes to what you guys want to hear and stuff and want to talk about and different things like that. I also put my Doll Mom podcast on Threads. We are on a new platform, Threads. Very interesting. And then we got new country listens, Poland and Chile. Y'all, thank you so much for that. If you're listening in those countries, or if you're not listening in those countries, thank you so much for listening to my podcast. In July, we added another new country listen, Taiwan, which is crazy. Thank you so much for listening to me in that country. And if you're not listening to me in that country, thank you for listening. We posted episode 29 in July with Cassie, one of my really, 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 really good doll friends. I love her so much. We talked about her YouTube rebrand, which was an idea that she brought to me. And I was like, you know what? I was literally about to reach out to you asking if you wanted to talk about that. This is kind of crazy how we are both doing this, both on the same mind wave or whatever it's called with that. We also talked about our friendship story, how we became friends, which is such a sweet little friendship story. It's my favorite little friendship story to tell. We actually told that the first time she came on in a really earlier episode of the Doll Mom podcast, but this was like one of my first technical difficulties of the Doll Mom podcast. The mic cut out and didn't get anything from that. And so I told her that, and I was like, so you need to come back on some kind of future episode, and we need to tell that story because it's a great story and I love telling it. And she's like, okay. And so the opportunity came up and we told it in this episode. But then we also did a segment which I always wanted to do over fixing up your dolls. You know, how to do it. There's so many things that I need to do with my dolls that I don't know how to do. Like, there's a lot of dolls in the doll room that needs their limbs tightened. I don't know how to do that. Well, I do know how to do it, but I'm scared to do it, you know, and kind of like trying to ease that anxiety for people, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who is scared to take off a doll's head and tighten the limbs, you know, like different things like that, or scared to figuring out how to get a stain off your dolls and how to wash your clothes and different things like that. So I'm really glad that we did that. And I know I got a really good positive feedback from a lot of people who really enjoyed that episode, which I'm really glad to hear about as well. And I love that it was such a helpful episode too, you know, helpful with that aspect, that segment in it. In August, we posted episode 30, which is crazy, with my really good friend Morgan. You know, we did some catching up since she's been on, and we talked about the blind Barbie and other blind dolls, you know, the Our Generation doll, Marlo, and different things like that. This was a really fun episode. Morgan actually came to me with the idea, and I was like, yeah, let's get you on. Let's do this. So we did that, and that episode, so meaningful. I mean, the first one that we did with Morgan was really meaningful too, and I think this one was even more meaningful because we're talking about blind dolls and the community and diversity and different things like that. So I really enjoyed that episode and that conversation that we had with it. Crazy news happened in August. Crazy thing. The Doll Mom podcast was ranked number 1 on top 20 best doll podcasts worth listening to in 2024 by FeedSpot. We're number 1. Like, isn't that crazy that we were number 1? I talked about it in the beginning of the segment, what it meant, and you know, the same valid feelings and words. I don't know what to say. Like, I always get so speechless, and I feel like I get like really awkward because I'm like, oh, what do I do? What do I say? Because I don't know what to say because I'm speechless, you know? So, yeah. But once again, thank you so much for listening to my podcast. And this is probably not the last time I will thank you for listening to my podcast in this episode. In September, we posted episode 31 with Heidi. She got to share her doll story and her lovely, amazing nonprofit, Heidi's Heroes. This was an idea that I had for a while of her coming on because not only do I want to give people a voice and an opportunity to tell their doll stories and to tell different things and talk about different things within the doll community with my podcast, I also kind of want to do good with my podcast, you know, sharing heartfelt stories and really powerful and impactful organizations, nonprofits that are doll related and different things like that. And so that's what we did, and I really love that episode. It means so much to me. And I also hosted my first ever fundraiser to her nonprofit. So it was from September 25th to October 25th through Instagram and Facebook. People can donate money directly to her, and I hosted it through my doll account and through my Doll Mom podcast accounts. So it was really powerful. We raised some good funds for her organization, and thank you so much to everyone who donated, if you donated to that. In October, I did not post an episode, which we'll talk about. But first I want to talk about how I restructured my podcast on YouTube podcast. So I did a lot of things kind of behind the scenes with my podcast this year. One thing that I can really think of was switching on how I record when guests comes on. In the past, when I had guests come on, I would literally hold my phone. We would do like a phone call or like a FaceTime or something, and I would hold my phone up to the microphone, and I would just have my phone next to the microphone, and that's how I recorded it, which not the best quality, let me tell ya. So this year I started recording. I upgraded kind of like my software and different things. I'm really liking it so far with how I do guests, but at the same time, you know, there's still a lot of technical difficulties that I still don't necessarily have control of because it's not really on my end. It's with the platform I'm using. But, we're getting through it, and I really like how I've been having guests on using it. So, yeah, it was like my first year I started using it in July with Cassie. I was like, Cassie, you're one of my good friends, and we're doing this. But also, we're doing a new platform, and I know if it all goes wrong, you're not going to get completely mad at me. So, yeah. And then I also changed the category that my podcast is under. So when I first started podcasting in 2021, the only category that really related to me was kids and family. So I picked that for multiple different reasons. A couple of reasons that I'm going to list are that, I talk about dolls. Dolls are generally targeted towards kids. However, I think and I strongly believe that dolls can be for everyone. But also, it's very kid-friendly. Content-wise, we're very clean. And it's, yeah. So that was kind of like the two main reasons why I picked that. And so, I don't know what made me look into it, but you could change the category that your podcast is under. And so I did that this year. There was a hobby category. There's still not a toy category or doll category. Maybe, we'll have that category be made in 2025. That'd be great because that really fits my podcast, But I picked hobbies because, this is a hobby. Doll collecting is a hobby of mine. So I picked that. I changed my whole episode category. And I feel like that was kind of like a little big thing for me because we've always done stuff with kids and family. And when I get ranked by Apple Podcast, it's always because of the kids and family category. So it was kind of a little bit, I wouldn't say sad to change it, but it was kind of a little like, am I sure? Do I want to change it? Like, I've had different things come up from this, I don't know. A little bit daunting, I guess, and a little bit second guessing myself and different things like that. I also changed on YouTube podcast that my doll podcast is not under the Made for Kids category, which was very daunting to me as well, But we had an episode where I really struggled with posting, and I really was like, I don't think I could post this. And I think I sent it to Cassie, and I was like, Cassie, could you listen to it? Could you tell me, is this really okay to post? And so it made me look into YouTube podcast and the categories, the Made for Kids mode, which I can get onto a whole topic with that, but we're not going to. And I was like, you know what? We talk about so many different things. We talk about motivation, and we talk about struggles, and we talk about mental health, and we talk about anxiety, and we talk about different things, and we talk about diversity and inclusion and different things. And I'm like, do kids really comprehend that? Do they know what I'm talking about? Do they really understand that? And so with the Made for Kids mode, I was under the impression that, they have to kind of understand and stuff like that. And so I was like, you know what? If I was listening to a podcast and I was, for example, when I was 6, when I first got my American Girl doll, and I was listening to this when I first got my American Girl doll when I was 6, I wouldn't know what motivation was when I was 6, years old. I wouldn't know, anything, probably, what we're talking about. So, because of that reason, and that kind of viewpoint, I decided to take my podcast off of the Made for Kids mold. So that is kind of my reasoning. And with that, you can comment under my podcast now on YouTube, which is kind of exciting. And I've been, missing the YouTube comments for so long. I really, really miss getting to connect with people on that platform. And now in a way I can through my podcast. So that's really exciting. So in November, I posted episode 32 with Lee. I love Lee. We shared his doll story, and we talked about doll diversity and the doll community and different things like that. And that was such a impactful episode. That was going to be an October episode, but I edited it really last minute, and I was like, you know what? Since I edited it's so last minute, we are actually going to push it to November. And so that's what I did. And really embarrassing thing that happened we're going to talk about, which I kind of laugh at, but you know what? It's fine. So you know how I said, I edited it really last minute, and I decided last minute to push it to November because, I edited it really last minute, and I didn't necessarily really had time to do different things with it like I usually do with my podcast episodes. And so I was like, you know what? We're just going to push it to November. Well, ended up uploading it to my podcast distributor. Didn't change the date of when it's going to be posted, and it accidentally got posted. And I was like, oh no. I wanted to not post this now because I didn't have time to change the cover. I didn't have time to write the description and the titles and different things on Instagram that I do to promote my episodes. And it was posted for a solid 10 hours before I realized what I did. Might have been posted longer for that, actually. And because I got it, and the only reason I knew that it was posted because I was checking my email. And one site that I use to make little clips that I post on my doll account, I post on my Doll Mom podcast account on Instagram to promote the episode, sent me an email, let's make a clip to promote, so-and-so. And I was like, oh no, I accidentally posted it. Yeah. I was freaking out, and I was sitting in my car in my work parking lot, and I was getting ready to go to work. And so I was trying to get into my stuff 5 minutes before I'm supposed to be, walking into my work, trying to get it taken down because I was like, I didn't want to post this yet. This is so embarrassing. And I think I got it all taken down, but I'm pretty sure you could probably find it somewhere on the internet because it's the internet. Once you post something, you can't really take it all down. So yeah, that is kind of an embarrassing story that happened on my end. But you know what? We have invested into a Google Calendar and a really good planner now. So I know when to move stuff, and I know when to double check things. So we've done that now since then because I've been very forgetful lately, believe it or not. But anyways, I really enjoyed having Leon. It was very, very nice, and I really enjoyed having him on. And I mean, I just said that, but it's true. I really enjoyed it. We had a lot of things happen in December, and I think the only reason we had a lot of things happen in December because it's the end of the year, and I get a little free time at the end of the year because, college classes are over, and, I'm on Christmas break, so I'm really active with different things. And so in December, we had new countries listen to the podcast, which is exciting. Egypt, Israel, and Iceland. Thank you all so much for listening to my podcast in those countries. We also got our Spotify wrap, and there was a couple things that I wanted to read off to you that just was beyond crazy to me. And so I just want to thank you all for listening to my podcast. Whether you listen to it on Spotify or not, thank you. So there's a couple things I wanted to read off. We had 61% of new listeners this year. We are a top podcast for 15 fans, top 5 for 23 fans, and a top 10 for 26 fans. Top fans listen to my podcast 1.9 times more than other listeners. Average rating is 4.8 stars. And we had a 25% increase of follower growth, which is crazy to me. Oh, I mean, yeah. Did I say 25 increase or did I say a different number? I can't remember what I just said. But anyways, thank you so much to everyone who listens to my podcast. Those numbers are so crazy to me. The fact that people actually like my podcast just blows my mind, honestly. We also got listened to in a new state in the United States, Louisiana. I keep track of this because I live in the U.S. and I'm from the U.S. And so a goal of mine, I hate to call it a goal, but even though I keep track of it, is I really want to be listened in all 50 states because I think that would be just insane and that'd be crazy. And I don't know, I just think it'd be cool. And so we are 6 states away from getting that goal accomplished. which is crazy. I actually have, if you watch my stuff on Instagram, and I've started posting this on YouTube Shorts. So I make these like little vertical videos, short form vertical videos of me coloring in a new country. I printed off these maps. They're coloring pages I found on the internet of a United States of America app, and then I found one of the world. And so every time I get a new listen, either from a state in the United States or from a new country, I pull out my map, I make my little video talking about how we're listening to there, and in the video I color in the new country or state, and I write in the name of it on my map, and I really like doing it, and it's, yeah. So I just pulled out my United States of America map, and we are 5 states away from coloring in the whole United States. We're missing listens in Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Maine, and Hawaii. So if y'all know anyone who lives there, send them a link to my podcast. I'm kidding. Unless you want to, which I wouldn't mind. But anyways, it's just so crazy to me that those were 5 states away from coloring in the whole U.S. and being a U.S. listen podcast. It's so crazy to me. Thank you so much. Speaking of countries and states, we was ranked by Apple Podcast as number 41 in hobbies on Apple Podcast charts in Canada, which is crazy to me. I've always wanted to go to Canada. It's been a passion of mine to go to Canada for a little bit. I say for a little bit, it's been for the past 3 years now that I've wanted to visit Canada. Anyways, but to be ranked in the Apple Podcast charts for them, that's crazy. And plus, that's so close to the US, and it's just, it's insane. And also in the new category that we're in too, hobbies, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So yeah, it's so crazy to me. And then we are on a new platform called Good Pods. I haven't announced that yet, so that we're officially on Good Pods, because there's a few things I still need to set up for my profile and for my podcast on there, but we're on there. If you wanted to listen to us there, we're on there. So yeah. And then in December, for episode postings, it's this one. So hello, welcome. We're listening to it. So that is kind of my Dumb Mom Podcast Rewind. And once again, I just want to thank everyone for listening to my podcast this past year. I really, really appreciate it. It means so much to me. More than you know. 2024 was a year of my life. We had so many great things happen in 2024 that I cannot believe happened, and I'm so thankful, and I'm so appreciative, and it's just so insane, stuff that I never even dreamed of happening in 2024. But on the other hand, we have had stuff happened that I wouldn't say that I'm not proud of it happening, because stuff happened. Like I said, I'm a firm believer of everything happening for a reason, and I think the stuff that happened really made me grow as an individual and grow as a human being. I mean, that's the same thing as what I just said before, but whatever. But it's kind of stuff that I'm just gonna just rip the Band-Aid off, just talking about it and different things. We have had, in my personal life, we've had so many friendship breakups happen, and it's a nightmare to go through a friendship breakup. It's so hard. You don't know what to do with yourself, and I've learned from walking away from things this past year has been a big lesson. When you realize you need to walk away from something, you need to do it, and accepting something and going through it, it's just been really hard. And so different things like that have been what I really struggled with this past year. I would say that Taylor Swift's Torture Poets Apartment was an album I needed in 2024 with what I was going through during that time that it came out and what I went through after it came out. There's a lot of different songs on that album that I really related to, and I still really relate to them. And it kind of just really helped me in my coping process and my healing process of different things that happened. And with the dolls, I feel like I've had some struggles with them as well. And I feel like within the doll community, I had struggles. Knowing, I guess, what to post on social media. Is it being too much if I say this or if I post this? Am I driving people crazy by constantly doing this? Like, constantly posting different things? And, like, am I being too much? Like, different things like that. I've really discovered the toxicness of social media this past year, too. With different things I posted, different reactions I've got. I think one of the things, I'm just going to be honest, that really experienced this past year was hate comments and hate messages. Honestly, I've had my fair share of hate comments. I had my fair share, okay? Like, this past year, I'm ripping the Band-Aid off for talking about it, hate comments and hate messages. I'm such a positive person, so, like, I never talk about this because why would I want to weigh someone down, and talk about this topic? But I've really experienced that, and I'm not talking about this to make anybody feel sad or depressed about me, like, whatever. Like, it is what it is. Everything happens for a reason. It's a growth opportunity, like, which, honestly, I feel like I honestly asked for the hate comments anyway because we post hauls, we post unboxings, we post reviews a lot, like, I feel like whatever you post on social media, the hate's just going to come with it. And that's just something that if you post on social media, you're going to have to accept. Another thing that I kind of like struggled with on social media this year is like imposter syndrome, like second guessing, like if I should do something or like, do I really have the skills to do this? With my Doll Mom podcast, like, am I really capable of having this person on, like, my podcast? Or, with working with different things and, like, doing different projects, do I really have what it takes to do this? Like, I don't know if I'm really capable of doing this. So different things like that I've definitely struggled with this past year. Going through it and doing different things, even if, like, I'm second guessing, I've definitely learned so much about that. Like, trusting my gut, I would say for sure I learned this year. Like, if I'm second guessing, like, a video, and I think it depends on the reason I'm second guessing it too. Like, if it's like a video where I don't think I should post it because I'm doing this and that, then yeah, like trusting my gut on different things on whether I should post something or whether I should not posting something, I should just stick to it instead of just, I'm going to post this, even though my gut is saying different. Like, no, just trust my gut on something. And I'd also say with that, like, there's for sure been times that I've second guessed something and I went and posted it and the response was great, like different things that came from it. But at the same time, I feel like with most things, whether I'm not trusting my gut, it doesn't end up in a positive way. Like, I don't feel good about it, like something, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But anyways, definitely trusting my gut was something I've learned this year. Setting boundaries for myself. I try to be very, very active on social media, respond to comments as I see them, respond to messages as I see them, like being very, very active. But, knowing when to say, okay, I'm going to log off for the night, like, good night, like, and not responding to any messages until tomorrow morning because I'm tired, different things like that, like setting boundaries for myself in that aspect and really following with it. And then, like I mentioned, walking away from different things, accepting, this isn't matching the vibe. Like, it isn't fitting me anymore. I'm a completely different person now than what I was, and this isn't matching me. Walking away from it. Like, fully accepting that and walking away, implementing the plan. Even though it's gonna hurt, it's gonna be bad, we're gonna be in the grieving process for a little bit. Walking away from it could lead to a better opportunity. Meanwhile, not walking away, I could not get that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, different things like that, stuff like that. So I feel like those were like my big 3 lessons this year: walking away, setting boundaries, and trusting my gut. We talked about the 2024 lessons and struggles and stuff that I went through, which I did not share that to make anybody feel sad about me or anything. I wanted to share it because not everything you see on social media is real, Like, in my videos, I'm very positive because I'm a very positive person. I'm very upbeat. I'm not sad, like I have a very optimistic personality and different things like that. Like, that's me. Like, I'm very happy and And I feel like, people paint that picture when they create social media content, It's very happy, it's very upbeat. You don't really hear about mental health problems. You don't really hear about struggles they're going through currently. Why don't we share that? Because life is not always happy and it's not always upbeat. You're going to go through something that you wish you're not going through, like friendship breakups and different things like that. And it's going to be hard. It's going to take a toll on you. There's going to be days where you don't want to do anything. You want to stay in bed and you want to cry and you want to listen to Taylor Swift music, sad songs, So Long London, and just cry it out. There's different things like that happens, and that's okay. That's okay if the only thing you did this year was survive. Because life is hard. It's challenging. There's going to be thunderstorms, but there's also going to be rainbows. So looking forward to 2025, I wanted to share kind of some goals that I've kind of set for myself. I'm going to do like a massive planning and stuff and really focus down on goals. And I thought about making a vision board this year, like for 2025, which I've never done. But I've seen like so many people that I follow on social media, like there's this one person I'm like a huge fan of. Her name's Lauren Norris, and like she's so cute. Like she's like pink themed and like she's so positive, and I really love following her. And there's other people that I've seen on TikTok. A lot of people I've seen like do vision boards. And so I thought about making one. I don't know. We'll see. Like I don't even really know how to make a vision board. I mean, from what I understand, you just like take pictures, like you print off pictures or like you draw something and like what you envision 2025 to be like and like your mindset and different things like that. So I thought about making one. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, here are some goals that I have with my podcast and outside of my podcast and in my doll collection or in the doll community and like different things like that. I would say the first goal with my podcast would be doing more good / making more of like a good impact with my podcast, like continuing to give people voices and an outlet to share their story and to talk about dolls and like to kind of like focus more on what the listeners want while also like highlighting like good and impactful stuff, like I loved Heidi's Heroes episode. Like I would love to highlight some more doll themed charities and nonprofits and different things like that. And giving them a voice, so I'd love to do that with my podcast. I would also, make it more kind of listener themed. Like, what do you guys want me to talk about? What guests do you want to have on? What would you kind of like to see? And kind of getting more like input and stuff like that from you guys. There are some guests that I really want to have on in 2025. Haven't asked yet. Some of them I'm a little bit afraid to ask. Like I said, imposter syndrome kind of happening to me right now a little bit with different guests and like reaching out and be like, do you like, would they think that it's dumb? Like, do they think like a doll podcast is dumb? And do they think it would be dumb for them to come on my doll thing podcast? Like different things like that, kind of concerns me a little bit, but you know what? Shooting my shot, like just shoot your shot, you never know what's going to come out of it. And I definitely did that with different things this past year, and it ended up being like awesome, stuff like that. They ended up saying yes or, different things. So you never know what stuff can come out to. You never know unless you try. But I am going to be doing like a massive planning with my podcast, like going down. We're planning all the episodes out. And we're reaching out to so many different people, asking if they wanted to come on. And we're also changing up maybe the social media strategy, like what I'm going to post on my social medias, like outlets and different things like that. Like behind the scenes of stuff, like really interests me. And I thought about changing my degree, which is a whole different topic to talk about. But anyways, I'm in college. We're in my third year of college. Next year will be my last year. My current degree is business management, which, good thing to major in. It's what I wanted to major in, but I honestly, I get so much fascination with, social media stuff. I love doing it. I don't know, and I hate to say that, but at the same time, I love it. That's the reason why I'm sharing. It's because I love it, and I don't know, I just love it. So I've thought about changing my degree to, something social media or, marketing or, advertising or different things like that. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to think of what I want to minor in. See, I thought about changing my degree a couple times to different things, which, I mean, I've always wanted to work at American Girl and work in the doll, industry, so that's why I'm in business. But there's different things, and I'm just like, would I regret it? Working in the doll industry, which I don't think I will, because I love dolls and I love collecting them, and I would love to have a hand on the behind the scenes and making production aspect of them. But at the same time, would I be sad if I am not doing something social media related, or if I'm not doing something creative related? For example, I thought about going into directing movies, or being a producer on a TV show or something like that, because I love making videos and different things like that. And I love directing different things and writing scripts and writing, different things creatively and different things like that. So see, that's another thing I struggled with too, with my degree and different things, because it's kind of daunting, going to school for 4 years or how many so, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into the career field, and you're I went to school all these years and I spent all this money. What if I don't like it going within 5 years of being in the career? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Anyways, very daunting decisions. But going back, I'm doing a massive planning with my podcast, and I plan on doing a massive planning with my YouTube channel and different things. Okay, this is what we're posting every single Sunday until this day, different things like that. So a goal I would say within my doll collection is a goal of mine for a really long time has been completing the numbered American Girl dolls, the Truly Me dolls, or just you, American Girl Today, whatever you want to call them. I personally call them number dolls because they're numbered. They've been numbered ever since they came out, and yeah, that's my new thing, is calling them number dolls. So this past year I completed 1 through 10. I'm only 4 away from completing all of the older dolls, so numbers 1 through 92. I'm missing 18, 45, 48, and 50. And so I really want to complete that in 2025, but those are the ones that are kind of expensive and hard to get. And so I don't know if I will really be able to complete that, but you know what? We're going to try, because, I'm hoping that the Facebook lands will grant me some of those for an insane price and good condition, And then that's not counting the 6.1 or 19.1, or I need both versions of 18. I don't have any version of 18 in my collection, so different things like that. So I would really love to complete that aspect of my collection. And I would also like to focus on some of the retired historical characters collections and Girl of the Year collections, completing some of those collections as well. So that's always on my list, getting some more stuff from Chris's collection, or from Mia's and Marisol's and different Girl of the Years that I didn't get to experience because I was little and I wasn't into American Girl dolls. So different things like that. So that's some of my goals that I have for 2025. I thought about sharing some other things, but you know what? We're going to save those for later. And some of the things I don't even know if I'm really dead set on yet, I still have a few days to figure out really what I want to do for 2025 and really what I want to accomplish and, achieve within my doll collecting world. So yeah, we're gonna leave it at that. Okay, everyone. So that is the end of this podcast episode. I feel I don't know if we were all over the place. I don't think we were. I feel we were more very organized and very, I don't know another word to say other than organized for this episode, because we had a plan. I made myself write up a plan this time. I was last time it was a mess. It was a disaster. So we're writing up a plan. So that's what we did. And yeah, I feel we were very open in this episode too. I feel I shared a few things and different things and really talked about different things that I don't really normally talk about. And I feel it's important to shed a light on different issues and different things that you're going through, because a lot of stuff, I feel it's kind of not necessarily taboo to do it on social media, but it's kind of like you don't really see a whole lot of people open up and share what they're going through or different struggles that they're facing and different things like that. So that's what I kind of like to do in these end of the year reflective episode, because I love honesty, being honest of what I went through this year, because we're talking about this past year, we're talking about 2024. Why wouldn't I share that? Because that's what I went through. It happened. Like the other stuff happened. It happened just like when I posted an episode, So anyways, I hope 2025 is a great year for everyone. Sending everyone good vibes, good luck vibes, just good vibes all around. Lots of love, as always, for 2025 to be one of the best years anybody has ever experienced. Better than 2024. And even if your 2024 was great, even better than 2024. Just a great year for all of us is what I hope. So thanks for listening to this episode of my podcast. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate all of your love and support as always. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, TikTok, if it doesn't get banned, at Doll Mom Podcast. Very fun on the social media platforms we're on. My name's Mal. I'm on those same platforms, at Dollies and Rainbows, if you want to check me out. If you haven't heard from me or haven't heard about me, that's who I am. So yeah, overall, just thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great time until we talk next, and I hope your 2025, I should say, is amazing just like you are. Bye!